Good morning, it's 9 o'clock on Sunday, so I am live and here to take any questions you have on primary maths education live. So if you join me, please send in your questions or just say hi and where you're from and what you're doing. Now, today's focus topic is going to be teaching interventions to children aged 9 to 11, and the topic for today is subtraction. I'm taking time out from running professional development for teachers just now to work directly with kids and make a difference post-lockdown to them, but I will share my practice for free. And if you like it, if there's bits you want from it, that's fabulous. That's a wonderful thing. So I've taken 10 groups through already through intervention, and I've just started my second lot of 10 groups. And this is the first lesson. So if you're looking for inspiration on how to get started, hopefully this is going to help. So I welcome the children in small groups into my room. I warn them that they're going to sweat and their brains are going to hurt, and I'm going to say simple questions that might nearly make them cry, because as when we're tackling gaps, that's how it feels. But very quickly they are going to come to love the sessions, because we know that from experience, because the reputation's got around the schools from the children who've done it. And every question matters, every question gets feedback, every question they answer, unlike in class where that's never possible. And I always have a stamp. This is my gold star stamp of this week, but I've got all sorts of ones for every single question. And the questions they get wrong are more important than the questions they get right, because we know there's going to be a learning experience. So we set up their books and talk about today being all about subtraction, and I'm going to give them some subtractions, and I just want them to write the answer. For you, as a teacher, my focus is going to be on getting them to use the whole variety of strategies for subtraction, and being aware that most are trained to count back or see subtraction as taking away, but don't necessarily fluently shift to subtraction being counting on. So this is how we access that. I start with a question like 17 subtract 2. Please can you just write the answers in your books? And most of them look calm and okay, and they puzzle that in their head and they write down that the answer is 15. If a child can't cope with that at all, obviously you're going to have to dig into that, but most children can. And then I asked them one by one to explain how they did it. And that's fabulous, because you get such a variety of methods. You would be entertained and surprised at how they start to come to life. They struggle at first to articulate their mathematical thinking, a lot of them. Some will say, well, I could see that 7 minus 2, I know that that's 5, and the 10 is still there, so it's 15, which is lovely. And some children will say, well, I counted back 16, 15. They're the most common strategies. You may get some variations on them, and that's great. So then we put that question away, and I swap to a question like this, say 18 subtract 15, at which stage some of the children go pink and look like they're about to cry. You wouldn't think they can't do that, having seen them done the last one, but for quite a few children, there's a real problem making that shift. And having actually primed them to think of subtraction as being about taking away or counting back makes it even harder for them to shift to seeing the gap. Now, some children will still manage to do 8 minus 5 and the 10s are gone. Some children will count back. Some children will count on. Counting on is the easy strategy for this, counting on from 15 to 18, 16, 17, 18, therefore the answer's 3. But a lot of children will be close to tears. I've had one child in tears this week, and we've just stopped and gone, okay, it's your time. This is going to be a positive, and you're going to learn so much by knowing you can feel this stressed and it turned to a positive, and nobody is laughing at you because they know it's going to be them next. And I do something to get a smile out of them. And then we show them what's going on here. So, explain to them, if I set this up on a Poppet, sorry, this may be back to front for you. If I turn it this way, that's probably better. except it's not quite so easy to see. I can see there in the camera. I think it's just about okay to see. So we have 18. And we're going to subtract 15, 18 subtract 15, and they are struggling because they are seeing the 15 going from this end of the number. And it's really hard to clearly see the answer. We could do that, we could pop down 15 from that end, and eventually we'd see that the answer is 3. This is a 10 by 10 Poppet, by the way. We make sure they can see that, so they can see this is 18, they're happy this is 18. But if we count from this end and we take out the 15, the structure of the 15 is easy to see in base 10. Let's see that go. And you can see that there are 3 left here, because if you compare the 15 and the 18, the two structures, you can see that difference, or we can count on 16, 17, 18 and see the 3. And they begin to get a sense that this is going somewhere, and we let them play with the Poppet a bit to calm them down and relax them. And then we have a go at another one. I do actually find some children set that up as a column subtraction as well, and they get there in the end, but ouch, it hurts. By the way, there is an assumption in this session that children have seen column subtraction. If your children have never seen this, never seen it at all, then this isn't quite the right lesson for you, but there may still be some ideas in it that are helpful. So the next question I would give them would be something like 41 subtract 38. Can they have a play with that? And the children who've struggled before are still going to struggle. 41 subtract 38. So again, we will set up the 41 on the Poppet. It's difficult for you to see the Pops. If you just imagine the 41, and then we talk about the 38, and we actually do it, and then they can see that the difference is 3, and they can see they can get it by counting on 39, 40, 41. You can see, therefore, that that is 3. Which children who aren't fluently swapping between subtraction being taking away and counting back and subtraction being counting the gap, counting on, don't see. So they're going through quite a mental meltdown here. But the Poppet helps them relax, believe they're going to be able to do it. They can really see it. So even if they can't see how it's working yet, or be confident they can do it, they can quite enjoy what's going on. So we'll carry on with some more of these. Something like, 63 subtract 59. And now, as part of the process, obviously we're still doing it with a Poppet, or with base 10 apparatus if you prefer, but a Poppet is lovely for this. We do the disciplines 60, 61, 62, 63. So they're starting to train their brains to know that counting on is part of the strategy. Of course, we don't just want to teach them to do that. We want them to see it and understand it as well. So hence the Poppet and linking both strategies together. And gradually we move on and we look at something like, 92 subtract 85. And again, we can do it by counting on 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92. So it's 7. But they can start to think in blocks. And they can see the blocks as well on the Poppet if you do it with a Poppet. So they can see the 5 to get to 90 and then the 2 and add those blocks together. If we think of something like 103, subtract 98, you can see the 2 and the 3, or they can count on one at a time if they're just counting on for the first time. They like to do that. Hi, if you're watching, please say hi, where you're from. If you've got any questions, just jump in. So we're establishing that. Now we want to apply it so they get fluent at swapping between counting back and counting on when it's appropriate to do so. So this stage, I swap across to this worksheet here. All these worksheets are available free to download. You can go to RebeccaTheMathsLady.com to the worksheets and see all the links, or you can go to my Facebook group, which is Expert Primary Maths Teaching, and just go to the file section. They're all there. Free to download, no barriers, no passwords needed, nothing like that. So we have a go at this. This is the sheet on subtracting, exchanging once. So 672 minus 335 is the first question there. 672 minus 335. And we do all of that with the base 10 blocks. I always have my base 10 blocks handy. If you're not sure how to do that with base 10 blocks, look for my video on column subtraction. If you just draw, I can do it now just drawing, but it's not as nice as doing it with the blocks, because when you do it with the blocks, you see the part-whole model, and you can see the addition of the answer to that gives you back the 672, which is a really nice part of that. If you have to draw it, but try and make that clear. And so they see why you need to exchange. And they've seen in practice what's going on here when we do that. And what we're going to do here now is with the 12 subtract 5, I'm going to ask them to deliberately do their little subtractions within the big subtractions by counting on. So I'm asking them to say, for this one, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and know that it's 7 by counting on. Or see the gap of 5 and the gap of 2. Either is fine. So they get a 7 there. And then we can count on from 3 to 6, 4, 5, 6. They might just know it. If they do, that's fine. 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 337. We're done. And they get a stamp. And then they have a go at the next one. And with this sheet, I'm recognising that there are lots of ways to do small subtractions. We've seen that, we've discussed them, we've valued them all. But today, I just want them to do the little subtractions within the big subtraction by counting on as much as possible. If children are really fluent at this, then it doesn't matter because they've got that fluency anyway. But what you find is by focusing on that, by about halfway through the sheet, the children who've always been incredibly slow at this are finding they're much, much faster than they've ever been, and they start to get this buzz that, wow, this is going somewhere, and they start to feel really, really happy. And the children who are quite good at it, they'll fly through it, and I'm going to show you what we're going to move them on to. But they're quite happy to be relatively confident compared with the other children, because they know it won't be there, it'll be them struggling another time. But they've probably never been the ones who've been confident in a group. And they're building their fluency as well, so they're really happy. And then, when we've done that, we'll go back to subtraction much more holistically. I've got a couple more worksheets here. Calculations with large numbers too, and calculations with decimal numbers. More calculations with decimal numbers too. So I give them this. I just fold it in half. I'm not doing multiplication and division today. When they're ready. And what we've got here are 2 additions and 2 subtractions of large numbers where they're going to have to set them out themselves. So there's lots of things we're just nudging into here. Obviously, these are ones that are best with column subtraction. You may prefer mental methods, but I really wouldn't recommend them for something like this, a column method. You see the value of it here. It's part of the tools in the box they need. So this gets them to switch between addition and subtraction, which is important. They need to be able to do that. If they need help with their addition, we can go back to our base 10 blocks or our place value counters and explore that. So I'm checking for all sorts of things. Do they line up these numbers in columns correctly? So lining up on the right, lining up the ones. Are they exchanging correctly? Can they say these numbers? Can they say their answers? And we talk a lot about how you use commas to help you name large numbers. So there's loads going on there that's just building from what they've just done, but in tiny little steps, incremental steps of pushing them a bit further. Then with these subtractions, we're leading on just checking they can do column subtraction with bigger numbers. It's the same idea, it's the same process they've just been doing. And with this one, there's a lovely double exchange where they're trying to exchange and the number that they're trying to break up is 0, so they have to go to the next number, get one of those, turn the 0 into a 10, and then cross out the 10, make it a 9, and then they can exchange to be able to continue with that calculation. And it's nice that that is there because that's a tripping point for some children. They've never seen it. And then Decimal numbers. From my decimal worksheet, same thing, not doing the multiplication and division today. An addition and a subtraction. Now, some children, they've not seen decimals. They say, I can't do decimals. And you just say, you can. It's exactly the same, except when we line them up, we have to line up the decimal point. It's the only difference. And then we've got the same stuff going on. And I get them to say the numbers, saying the number before the decimal points, knowing that they have to say each of the digits after it individually, which of course gets them within one like that, a 0.085. If they say 0.85, then they've lost the point of that. Talk a little bit about decimal numbers, build their comfort and confidence with them, even if they don't fully understand them yet. We'll be coming back to that another week. And of course, the other thing that goes in with that is estimating the answers, having a sense of the size of the answers so they can double check that what they've done in the end is sensible. And that's how I get children going out of my sessions going, wow, I have learned so much more in 1 hour, that's an hour session, than I've learned in ages, and just brimming with confidence. We've not done anything magic. We've had a little bit of fun with Poppets, but only because it was part of the maths. I've maybe chatted to them a little bit, reassured them, seen them through some dark stuff, got them working as a group and supporting each other. But it's not been about play that's not relevant. So as I go forward and do more of these sessions, I will try and share them with you at the weekends. Obviously, I'm not at home today, so I've not got my usual backdrop, but I will be back. Sorry, I am at home. I'm in Cumbria. This is my home. I'm usually down in Liverpool for family reasons just now. So if you want those worksheets, you can find me in the Expert Primary Maths Teaching Facebook group or on LinkedIn in Math Education, Math Culture, or all sorts of other places. But always message me. If you've got any questions, please post them in the comments here. Next week, I will be working on multiplication with my children, so I'll be telling you all about that. Thank you for joining me. You're so very welcome. I love to be able to talk about maths education in England. You really can't, because I use low floor, high ceiling teaching strategies. You can see we've gone from like 17 subtract 2 to this kind of thing in a session, which isn't what's supposed to happen in England just now. So I'm part of the blob who was eradicated by the benevolent government in 2010 and therefore has no voice, but then nobody has a voice really anyway. Enough of that. Okay, I've got some amazing interviews coming up. I've just got to finish reading this enormous book here. I'm on page, where are we? Page 523, and I'm interviewing the authors on Wednesday, and I've got some more interviews on staff wellbeing set up, and hopefully some on maths, maths anxiety in particular, fingers crossed. Okay, take care, have a great week. Oh yeah, if you're adapting that for classrooms, I would pair up children who are comfortable with subtraction as counting back with children who aren't, just to make the whole dynamic of the classroom work and understand that it's supportive. And I would have these projected on the board just for when the class is finished to try in their books and talk a bit about them, share that with the whole class. It is what I've done for years. Okay, take care. Bye for now. Have a great Sunday.